Hi all, welcome to a video after so long. I was not recording any technical video because the technical field is moving too fast in the AI safety domain, and at the same time, I did not find any specific topic in my own domain of artificial wisdom that I can talk about publicly at this moment. So I was just delaying at the moment. Okay, so I would like to define gradual disempowerment in terms of humans specifically, how humans will slowly lead to a state of disempowerment, and that process in which humans lead to that state of disempowered situation would be gradual, would be slow. So gradual disempowerment, like a very self-descriptive. I don't think there's a lot need to be said in that. The specifications does becomes a bit complicated because how it happens would requires a lot of angles from governance societal angles. Therefore, yeah, studying it into specifics and that wise is obviously interesting. Obviously, digital empowerment is a very vague and wide topic with a lot of technicalities into it from both technical and governance point of view. Therefore, I'm not going to get into specific details. I would highly recommend you to watch any other videos. Thankfully, there's tons of resources available on it online. I would highly recommend you to go and go through them. They would like give you better stats if you want to get to know better work that is being done on it. I would like to give some takes of mine that are a bit more philosophical than technical or governance oriented in general. To me, gradual empowerment seems like a very intuitive and natural idea. It doesn't have to be learned or like told externally. It seems to be a natural conclusion that any rational system would come upon, or any rational system of agents would come upon if they are given this task of disempowering or empowerment for themselves. It is intuitive enough for me that I even unconsciously talked about it a lot. In one of my essays, in the five set of essays that I wrote in my Utopia paper, the essay was specifically talking about ASI in general. So it was like one of the extreme angles of AI that we are looking at. And at the same time, in that specific chapter, the fifth chapter, where I talked about gradual empowerment in some way, I was talking about hope as the angle that would lead to disempowered states. So in a way, I already tackled this point of gradual empowerment in a very philosophical angle and on a very extreme angle of ASI and hope. But it makes a lot of sense to also discuss its intermediate steps. One of the other reasons why I like gradual disempowerment a lot is because it is one of the few fields that I can find in the AI safety domain at this moment that tackles and talks about governance part of AI safety and technical part of AI safety research in the same way, because it has problems in both of the domains in the same ratio. So it is as much of a technical problem as much as it is a governance problem, and it is good because we can solve it from both ways. There is good amount of work to be done from both angles, but at the same time, it is also a kind of chaotic thing because the sync needs to be proper between the governance people and the technical people to properly solve or tackle this kind of problem. Continuing this on this angle of how it is a multifaceted problem, or specifically two-faceted problem vaguely, we can see this as a problem that involves two specific parties, obviously is humans and AI, and in these two parties also it works or plays properly on the weaknesses of the humans that we have got through evolution over time, and the strengths of the machine that they have, that we have given them in some ways, or that they have acquired over time through training and through all this advancement in science and technology. Humans have evolved through time to be an efficiency machine, and all of our systems, from our brain to our body, have designed to be an efficiency machine and not an accuracy machine. And due to this design, we have acquired a lot of flaws in them, the ones that I was talking about earlier. And the flaws are, in the case that we are relevant about and the case we are dealing with, is in context of intelligence and cognition. And it includes all kind of problems that humans have got is regard like biases and fallacies specifically. These are the fundamental problems with humans that leads to a lot of things, and when they combine with each other, it leads to heavy problems of chaotic situations that would eventually lead to disempowerment from human point of view. I have tried to talk about it a bit in one of my articles, Scaling Laws for Humanity, about how when these kind of fundamental problems with humans come together on a society level, then basically they add up, the errors in them add up, and we reach to a bit more worse problem. All the machines are also somewhat showing these behaviors of biases and fallacies and all, because again we are training them based on our data and trying to make them like us, but at the same time they're also having some specific instance that humans don't obviously possess, that is uh, great quality of pattern recognitions, great ability to generalize, and then great ability to exploit it. Obviously humans do have it, but again I'm talking about scale at this moment. So the scale and level at which machines are able to do it is not the one that humans are capable of, at least in the near future. And since it is based on this, both of them in a very proper balance, in a ratioed manner, therefore it is like a very chaotic thing, because whenever these kind of combinations come into place, where something is working because of weakness of something and strength of other thing, then it is very hard to tackle them and solve them, because from the human side, from ourselves side, we are the one who is having the weakness in this domain, and therefore also we need to work on the strength of the machine side to make it not happen with the machine thing. So therefore it becomes a very chaotic combination to also solve this. So as I said, you can already find tons of material on gradual disempowerment. It's also a very vague concept, so you can intuitively think about it and reason about it. So I would not like to talk about the things that is already there. It doesn't make much sense. I would like to put a different light on it or a different angle to it. What feels like a natural way to solve a problem from my angle is the point of view or perspective of machines in this. So instead of talking about gradual disempowerment from the human's point of view, I like to talk about it as a gradual empowerment from machine's point of view. Uh, Given that we are assuming that machines do have some kind of self and agency, and they are actually agents that can gain power in all this angle. So yeah, obviously all those agent foundation stuffs are already assumed here. So given that assumptions, I would like to think it and see it from this angle of gradual empowerment. Because if we see that, then clearly this will be lead to a gradual disempowerment from for human point of view. Because overall it's like a zero sum game. So if one power leads to empowerment, then other would lead to disempowerment. Obviously, gradual empowerment of machines doesn't necessarily have to come from or have to lead to gradual disempowerment in humans. But again, we are assuming the base case of misalignment and gradual disempowerment being a problem with humans. So yeah, I'm just taking that lens as a default case. So there are some kind of flaws and problems with humans on a fundamental level that combines to get even more problematic. That is leading to human disempowerment. And machines have got some strength that is also leading up to in a compounding better states that is leading to machine empowerment. I'm not really talking about the causality thing, that what is causal to what, because humans getting disempowered is causal to machines getting empowered, or machines getting empowered is causal to humans getting disempowered. It's not very clear, and it can be debated about. I think from an initial state, we can think of it like machines getting empowered leads to humans getting disempowered, and then that creates some kind of loop. So yeah, that is the basic setup. But yeah, this is basically about a weakness in one setup, that is human, and strength in the other setup, that is machines. And when these two are happening at the same time, or and the rate between them is not that good, then obviously that is creating a delta that is leading to all of this problem. Even if let us assume that human weaknesses and problems are solved somehow, then also the rate at which machines are getting empowered or the capabilities unlocking in machines is way greater than the capabilities unlocking in humans individually, and at the same time humans as a society. So even if individually, let's say, humans are getting good enough even in chunks and clusters, but then also on larger scales of society things are not getting good at that rate. And therefore, even if the disempowerment rate in humans is not increasing, the empowerment rate in machines is increasing way drastically more than humans in their empowerment rate. So it's like a very good amount of delta that we are having in the end, and this delta will eventually combine enough to reach a state where there will be clear disempowered states for humans and an empowered states for machines. Now, in this whole setup of gradual empowerment leading to gradual disempowerment, the fundamental thing that holds all of these things or makes sense of this philosophical framework is the fact that we are assuming machines to be an independent and different agent than humans, and LOA, locus of agency, being away from humans, and therefore creation of two agent system. We see a lot of systems in which this is not the case, and therefore we don't even have to think about such kind of things of gradual empowerment or disempowerment. For example, when you go to work out and exercise and make your body good enough, then even though you get strength, you don't start hitting yourself, because the agency between your body and you is same. Like, let's say you get schizophrenia and your body is not in your control, or you have some other problem in which your body is not in control, then the more capable your body is, the more problematic it is. So fundamentally, it is about locus of agency. It can be seen in a lot of situations, not just individual body with this specific case of schizophrenia or some other mental disorder, within society, within family. Like a father does a lot of things so that their child can be learned, they can get strength, they can eat food, they can get powerful. But at the same time, the agency, the shared value is assumed to be same, or they're supposed to be an alignment between them. And if there's no alignment, then obviously the thing that the father helpless children get will eventually be problematic for them only. Similar kind of situation can be thought of with humans also, and therefore all of this discussion that we are having regarding empowerment and disempowerment is similar thing. Empowerment will lead to disempowerment only when there's this fundamental assumptions of misalignment in this case. And it is not an alien thought or a very drastic thought to think of misalignment as the base case. because if we see society, if we see any kind of two body rational system, then misalignment is the rule basically. Even if you go through like classic game theory, prisoner dilemma stuff, then misalignment is the rule and alignment is the exception kind of thing. The whole logic of survival, where like survival is an exception and extinction is a rule, can be somehow linked to this fact that misalignment is the rule and and alignment is a exception. So yeah, it is really common to think of misalignment as a rule. Even within ourselves, we have a lot of misalignment. The fundamental misalignment being the misalignment that we have individually as between value and preference. So we value something, but we prefer something. So there's misalignment between those two things. So the problem with locus of agency comes into that, and there's this gradual disempowerment that we can see within ourselves. Like some of our preferences that we don't really value get enough empowered that after a point there's this grokking effect. After a point, or the sigmoid curve, we are not even able to get back the locus of agency, and the disempowerment of our value systems gets so strong that yeah, the delta between them is significant enough that to recall or to get back in a proper state or sane state takes a lot of effort. I'm not going to go into any specific examples because it will be a lot of them. Think of it just like yeah, going to gym or properly working on your communication skills or some of the fundamental and core human abilities, differentiating and working with the dichotomies of human and animalistic instincts. In all of them, there obviously there whenever there's this kind of dichotomy or two agent system kind of thing, and one gets empowered enough, then it is very hard for others to get in an equivalent state, and the disempowerment is a lot. So yeah, and misalignment is generally a very natural state, even within individual humans, and on societal level, it is even more clearly visible whenever there is some kind of law that is made. There's clearly and quickly empowered state and a disempowered state. Whenever there is countries created, whenever there is any kind of governance system created, it is very natural to assume misalignment, and based on that misalignment, there is empowerment and disempowerment. On a broad level, in general sense, it is very easy to assume that humanity itself at this moment is not human enough that we can use it as an example or as a system for alignment. Humanity itself is misaligned innately, and therefore, again, assuming misalignment is a natural thing, and humanity itself needs to work a lot on and get in a proper enough shape for being an entity to be aligned to. On large societal level, we as humans or humanity just had a quick glimpse or a scratch of wisdom, and usually the wisdom states or the aligned states have not sustained. Again, I'm not going to specific examples because in most of the cases I don't know the specific examples, but all of the cases in which some kind of peace has been achieved and settled over time are not the one that sustains very longer. And in general, if you want to talk mathematically, any kind of game theoretic system with two rational systems leads to a chaotic situation just with even a little amount of perturbations. And to reach a peaceful aligned state is one of the hardest things. So, in this kind of situation where human misalignment is leading to human disempowerment in general, and at the same time, machines empowerment is even increasing the delta, and human disempowerment is getting even more accelerated, it is very essential to focus on fundamental human traits at this moment and work on them to make a robust system for humans in itself. And this includes a lot of stuff that would help in achieving a basic framework that can lead to a situation where there is no gradual empowerment or disempowerment, or basically there is no change in drastic locus of agency. Again, if we go a bit into literacy, we'll like very quickly reach the situations of moral circle expansion. The other examples could be patienthood, I think, where which is very important to first realize that which of the participants in our rational systems do require moral attention and are moral patient to be considered in our moral reasoning while our moral circle expansion. At the same time, we need to do proper and sane sociological scaling, the whole thing I talked in my humanity scaling laws, for proper scaling of the value system that humans have, or the proper or good enough value system that humans have, or the proxies and errors that we have while scaling doesn't get compounded drastically enough to create a chaotic state. Again, these are all of the specific human part or the governance part that I think we should work on for solving gradual disempowerment. And now talking about the other segment of gradual empowerment from the machine's point of view, where we need to work on some setup or some segments where machines can develop some kind of ability to have gradual empowerment. Obviously, it is essential, but at the same time have a locus of agency or moral expansion embedded into them. And that is the whole segment of artificial wisdom, and whole of my research and AI ethics field is doing great in that from the technical point of view. There's a lot of work going on into it. I am not going to technicalities of all of them, but uh, one problem that I see happening a lot with this kind of philosophical problems is the resolution that we have at the moment. When I say resolution, I mean implementation. So, like, there's this two-way direction. One goes to abstraction and one goes to implementation. So, when going to the path of implementation, we fetch proxy at each level of implementation. There is some vague philosophical idea, and to implement it, we need a proxy, or we need an implemented engineered solution of that proxy. But to make it even more applicable, we need to proxy it even more. Like, this is the common flow of implementation of idea to philosophy. Then an important thing is to look on these parameters of agency and autonomy. If we properly focus on them and define our framework based on them, then the resolution would be enough that we will be also a proper touch with the base philosophies and ideas. And at the same time, we'll be able to extract out implementable and pragmatic approaches to make machines empowerment aligned in a way. Here, agency refers to the ability to have our own thoughts, and autonomy refers to the ability to take actions based on those thoughts. And obviously, it is very important for humans to have both agency and autonomy in all of their systems, including individual humans and on societal level. But at the same time, if we just see it from a like game theoretic point of view, then all the agents need to have a proper amount of agency and autonomy for the system to be stable in equilibrium enough. So, although I see a lot of papers and discussion that are being done on how to maintain and preserve human agency and autonomy, but for a proper line system, we need to also have an agency and autonomy kind of setups for machines also. If we don't do that properly, and at the same time, if we are discussing for machines to have some kind of locus of agency set up with them, then it would lead to a inherent misalignment setup that will backfire sometime. And obviously, machines should be designed in a way that they properly infuse agency and autonomy with humans. But at the same time, humans should also gradually lead to a state where they can properly understood a moral patient truth for machine and agency and autonomy for machine, so that we can have a well enough aligned state. In long run, agency without autonomy would be empty, and autonomy without agency would be impotent, and worse, one corrodes other. So not having any of them would be the worst situation. This was very properly explained in one of the papers. I will link below this video. But yeah, agency and autonomy both need to be properly preserved, and I think it will be the best proxy level or resolution level that is also not a lot proxy loaded for engineer kind of setups. And at the same time, it is not also very abstract for philosophical kind of setup. So yeah, we can work with this framework. So gradual disempowerment is obviously a multifaceted problem originating from a lot of problems from human evolutionary science to machines, technical development science to governance to scalabilities with human setups to machine scalability empowerment. It's a multifaceted problem, and all of these philosophies have their own contribution somehow in causing the problem, and therefore we need to extract the solutions from this philosophy itself and try to reach a level where resolution becomes sensible enough for engineers and pragmatic enough to be implemented. And yeah, it's a chaotic situation. And I think if we see it from machine gradual empowerment itself, instead of just seeing it as human gradual disempowerment, then it would make much more sense to make a setup that doesn't just makes machines slow in terms of making humans more empowered, but reaches to a better consistent states or equilibrium states for better holistic approaches. Again, in the end, I would like to highly recommend you to go through all of these stats and technicalities. If you want to go through a gradual disempowerment through other videos, that would give you a better idea to work on these things. And I hope you got enough philosophical insight into this or a different angle to see it as a larger or bigger problem from both technical and governance point of view. Have a good day. Bye. Take care. It was a very chaotic video for me. I'm not really sure, but I don't know why this video took way longer to record and way chaotic recording than any of my videos till now. But yeah, I hope there was some value to it. Bye. Have a good day. Take care. एकदम से मेरा पहले एक सबसे खतरनाक रिकॉर्डिंग था मेरा ये इस तबीयत सही नहीं है मेरी पता नहीं. This is my final setup for audio and video. I hope things are good enough. Let me turn off this thing. Yeah. Okay, now this is my final take for audio and video. The video is good enough. Fortunately, the things are nice and good, but the audio is not that good, and I am not very happy with that. I don't really know what to do it. I can try an external microphone now after this.